Hi, I'm Calvin Milan, and you're watching a podcast where nostalgia comes alive. It's Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Roll it!
Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Join Jake and his friends on a journey through pop culture of the past, where they interview professionals in the worlds of acting, directing, writing, puppeteering, and so much more. Who will they be chatting with today? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this wonderful episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Happy to hear of less folks. Thank you for joining. As always, I'm your host, Jake Duffenbaugh. Today, of course, as always, our wonderful co-host, Chris Bixby. How's it going, my friend?
Doing wonderful, doing wonderful. Hello, everybody watching and listening. Jake, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing great as always, Chris. Thank you for asking. And oh my goodness, everyone who are watching, listening, whoever, whichever how you seeing this episode. It's such a wonderful chat, such a
Yes, very
inspirational
inspirational.
indeed.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly. I was about to say from what this guy's got to do throughout so many decades of work that I'm sure all of you, most of you will definitely who's watching, listening, will definitely know what he's got to do over years, and it's just such a wonderful chanty that in a lot of ways it's a wonderful. And of course, as probably many of you may know him as what the guest called himself as the grandfather of puppetry. So that's kind of get a little hint as what the guest we have for today. So I'm not gonna but more two more. Chris, what do you have for today?
yes. There's so much we could say about this man, but we only have a short time before we cut to the actual interview. But to try and keep this short, our guest today, he is a he is an absolute legend in the television industry. He is a puppeteer, producer, and creator. He is best known for his work alongside his brother, the late Marty Krofft, who he sadly lost on November 25th of 2023. We're talking about Sid Krofft. Along with his brother Marty, they designed the characters and sets for the Banana Splits and the costumes for Newzoo Review, but they are best known for their creations, where they created series such as HR Pufnstuf, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, developing Land of the Lost, and creating the variety shows Donny and Marie, starring Donny and Marie Osmond, and The Brady Bunch Hour, starring the cast of another iconic sitcom, The Brady Bunch. We talk about their most recent creation with the Nick Jr. series Mutt Stuff, Sid's convention appearances, his live web series Sundays with Sid, and a whole bunch of other things. So let's not waste any more
Yeah.
time. Without further ado, enjoy our chat with Sid Krofft.
Yeah, see you then. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive.
Yes, today we're pleased to have with us the wonderful Sid Krofft. Sid, happy to have you here. How are you?
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I've never been called wonderful, but that's great.
Yes, you are, Sid. Yes, you're wonderful. From me, I mean you at Guys Con Richmond, and you being a guest on our show, it's so great. Thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you.
Absolutely.
It's,
So,
Of
yes.
course.
So to start this off, could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
well, yeah, for all you young people watching, um, I would suggest something which is really simple. You should be doing it every day anyway. Just call your grandma or your mom on your cell phone and just say, what did you grow up with? Sid Krofft? Oh yeah, we did 26 television series, so I'm sure there's at least one, you know.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. So, I'm kind of curious now, can you kind of tell us, what was your childhood was like?
Well, okay, we're gonna go back a long time ago because in 2 months I'm gonna be 96. So I started in this business when I was 10. And and so uh, it's been a long journey. And I didn't come from a theatrical family. They had no clue what the hell I was doing. My dad even said, "You're a boy. What are you playing with dolls for?"
Right.
Well, hey, Dad, I think I did pretty good.
Absolutely, for sure. So now, who were some of your like biggest like kind of artistic influences growing up, whether it be in puppetry or television?
Well, I would say I'm not going to give any one of those a higher category because uh, as a performer, you know, that was my highlight. As a puppeteer, the highlight of my life. I knew that's what I wanted to do for, um, and I knew that I had to do something a little different because puppets are for kids. And so, how am I going to get the adults' attention? And how am I going to play in nightclubs and theaters? And so I figured all that out as a young kid. And I'm telling everybody out there, maybe you've heard me say it before, go left, because that's what I did. Because everybody goes right. They take that path because it's secure. No, take the chance, you know, go left.
Absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful piece of advice.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that, of course, Sid. So of course, of course, you got to start, puppeteering at a very, young age. Can you kind of talk about like, what kind of like inspired you to begin puppetry and kind of at such an early age in that time? And did you always want to perform as a puppeteer in general?
Yeah, well, see, now I didn't completely answer your last question about who I looked up to. Of course, I never saw a puppet when I was 10 years old. I didn't even know what a marionette was. And I went to my first vaudeville theater. Uh, the neighbor just had one ticket. And so my dad had to drop me off, and there was a puppet act. And I thought it was a little person. And I figured it all out on my own. And God, that was the biggest impression of my life because I knew when I saw that puppet, there you go, kid. That's what you're going to be when you grow up.
Oh, that's wonderful. So now, what was your like first professional job in puppetry?
As a street performer, because you have to call that professional because people gave you money. They threw it in your hat. Not much. In those days, a nickel
Yeah.
could get you on the subway and a telephone call. And so, and so, for me to make 35 cents in a whole day, that was like I was bringing it home to my family, and they felt like they were millionaires.
Oh wow. So
Times have changed.
Yes.
definitely for sure.
Yep. Yes, that's what, yep, young puppeteers, that there you go, That, that's wonderful. So kind of to start out to kind of jump into your career. So of course you got to design the characters and sets for the Banana Split. So what was, can you kind of talk about what was your experience, for that show? Like kind of as like one of like your first like professional big things that you got to do.
Well, that opened up, just what life is all about. It's just a step at a time, and one wall opens up, and then another wall, and another wall, and it takes you on so many incredible journeys. So, what happened was we had what we called the show business factory. I'm going to make it as short as I can. And we opened up our doors to all of Hollywood, you know. So because I had over 250 people working there. So we had to keep the cash register going all the time in order to pay off all those people. And I hope there was a couple of bucks left over for me. I doubt it. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But,
Right.
uh, and so when we opened up our doors, Hanna-Barbera had an idea, I guess, because they were in animation, to do a show called The Banana Splits. But they didn't know how to go about putting people in suits, but we did. And so they approached us. Uh, I helped design and build all those characters. It wasn't our show, but
Right.
we for some reason we got a lot of credit because the show became such a big smash hit, and it wasn't about the little shows they were showing in between. It was about the banana splits, and that's
Yes.
what kids love, those characters.
Oh, for sure, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for you to, I'm sure you back in that time, for you being involved in such a legendary company like Hanna-Barbera, I mean, I can tell like it was such kind of like a huge deal for you in that time for again being involved in such a huge company like that for that
Well,
series.
yeah, I my career has been so lengthy that uh, it's like I said earlier, it's like building my own little pyramid, and it takes time, to go from one step to another. And
Yeah.
so, but to be given the opportunity that I was given is just mind-boggling because I got to, because of the times, I got to work in burlesque and, in vaudeville, in a circus, uh, the biggest circus in the world. And,
Yeah.
so all that is knowledge, even though I'm so young, I don't know in a way why I'm even there because nobody wanted to talk to me. I'm talking about the circus.
Hmm.
It was a world within itself. And so it's just building all that knowledge. And then when an opportunity opened up, like um, Hanna-Barbera knocking at our door, I was ready for anything. You know, I worked with Roy Disney on Disney on Parade. That was a big arena show, and we built the whole electric parade and all the
Wow.
sets and well, in the original Disneyland, they did farm out. Uh, they didn't have quite the workshops that they have now, and we did build a portion of the original electric parade in our show business factory.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Of course. So I just want to like talk about, can you kind of talk about like how much freedom that both you and Marty had in shaping the look and personalities of Fleagle, Bingo, Trooper, and Snorky? Can you kind of talk about a little bit of that aspect?
About uh, put, putting them into suits and making them characters.
Yeah, like what
Is
kind of
that
Yeah.
what
like
you're?
what kind of went into like developing their look and like design and things like that.
Well, it was my madness. I had the best art department, and the head of my art department uh, was probably the most talented person on the planet. He actually gave us the Krofft look. But my offices were in the art department because I hung out just with them all day because that's the soul of what I do is the art. That's what you have to start with. So when those characters, I didn't name them, hanna-barbera did, and out of those names, you know, it gave me the ideas of maybe what they were going to look like, what the style was, you know, because we've ended up doing so much in my career. And if you look me up, you'll see how could one person and still be on the planet, I'm still working, you know, have done so much. I don't know anybody in Hollywood because, you know, usually when you want to be a puppeteer or an actor or a singer, you know, you just stay with that one.
Yeah, stay what you're most comfortable with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
you
most
know,
passionate about. Yeah.
and develop it. I mean,
Exactly.
nothing is developed overnight, you know.
No,
It's
definitely not.
like
It
you
takes
Not
it
at
have to
takes a lot of
all.
work.
time. Sometimes it can take a couple years to develop something.
Yeah, you know, it took 11 years to get Star Wars, the original movie made. 11 years.
Yeah,
One of the biggest
There you
movies
go.
of all time. So who knows? I don't think anybody knows anything. It's just all, you know, it's a lot of luck and
absolutely.
and a lot
Yes.
of, you know, craziness. And
Yes.
and that was the route I took. I thought, wow, I'm gonna do something a little far out here for kids. And it worked.
Absolutely. It
I
definitely
love
did.
all your questions, you guys. It's great. Just
Well, thank you.
keep firing me
Yes,
with them.
absolutely. Yes.
Thanks very
So,
much, Sid.
absolutely. So, now moving on from Banana Splits, you and Marty also got to design and build costumes for another successful long-running series, News You Review. Can you talk a little bit about that show?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was just somebody knocking at our door. I always got involved with everybody because I love using my creative mind. And everybody that did come in, like the Jackson Five, Earth, Wind and Fire. I mean, it
Oh,
was
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
it was insane. But when they came in, you know, they didn't request me. They already came in with an idea. But I always worked with their art director and suggested stuff because my background, you know, my God, it's just so much to feed from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. And of course for you getting to work with the wonderful Doug and Emily on that series, I'm sure it was a lot of fun to work with them. Such wonderful
Yeah, you know,
individuals.
I didn't spend that much time on their set because I think what I would do is, uh, knowing me, I would be with my people when we deliver the
Yeah.
characters, and you know, and in case there's some unhappiness or whatever, I needed to take care of that, you know. And so, and there was, you know, a lot of times, you know, stardom, you don't learn that much from, but you sure learn a lot from rejection. Because rejection just wakes you up and you go, now, wait a minute. Why did they not like that? Let me straighten that out. I never let go if I believe in something, you know.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
Yeah.
So So can you kind of talk about, how both you and Marty's work on the Banana Splits and News Review kind of like differ from your other shows that are kind of like more surreal, if that makes any sense at all?
Well, let me explain uh, what we did. I was the creative guy, and Marty did the business end, you know, which I know
Right.
nothing about. And thank God that I didn't have to worry about that too. So, in creating, you know, the banana splits was such a big hit that the network, NBC, came to me and said, "Come up with your own show. I know we'll buy it." And Pufnstuf was a character in a puppet show in San Antonio for the Coca-Cola Company. It was the San Antonio World's Fair, and we did a show in Coke Pavilion, and a lot of those characters from Pufnstuf were in that show.
Oh,
And
okay.
so that's
Right, okay.
where I immediately jumped on the dragon. The dragon, his name was not Pufnstuf. It was Luther, which I thought was funny
Huh.
for a Texas character with a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. And so that's why he ended up with a cowboy hat and boots, because the show was created for Texas. So um, yeah, that's a huge question. I mean, how do you work on things? Where do ideas come from? And so many. And I have to say, if HR Pufnstuf, was a flop, that was our first show, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, because you're hardly given a second chance. Maybe down the line, 10 years later or something. But because of Pufnstuf immediately going through the roof, um, all three networks said, "What's the next show?
Right.
What's your next show?" And so
Absolutely.
that was my job.
Gotcha.
Last week, we did our live show on on the beach where I would run my 9 miles and create the puppet shows and the TV shows. Because if you're a runner, then just take off for your many miles, and on your second mile, it's your adrenaline gonna just check in, and you can create the world. And that was the gift I was given, and it was all because of running. So um,
Awesome.
we went to the beach, you know, so I hadn't been there in zillions of years, and it was great to reminisce how the Bugaloos in Lidsville and Land of the Lost and Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. You know, maybe some of you watching are familiar with Land of the Lost.
Oh
We
yeah, for sure.
also we also did uh, the Brady Bunch Hour
Yeah.
and
Right.
Donny Marie and Barbara Mandrell. So we were all over the place. Okay, next question.
Well,
So,
that's actually a perfect segue. So staying on the subject of HR Puff and stuff, can you talk about kind of like how the idea for that came about and how just kind of like what went into creating HR Puff and stuff?
Okay, that character, like I said a minute ago, was created for Coca-Cola in their pavilion. It was called Kaleidoscope, that show. we did, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 performances a day. It was 25 minutes. It was a big epic, a musical. It took 3 months to install all my puppet shows because it's it's not a puppet show. It's way beyond what you can imagine because I'm up against at Six Flags, even at the World's Fair, I'm up against other attractions, rides, food, all those things. And who the hell, a teenager is gonna look at himself and say, a puppet show? You know, I'm not gonna go see a puppet show. That's for the little kids at the park. But it wasn't like that. It was like an acid trip. So that's how I hooked them. Just
Nice.
like my just like my TV show. I mean, Pufnstuf,
Oh yeah,
when
absolutely.
when that came out of Kaleidoscope, you know, I just went further with it, you know, Living Island and Kaleidoscope had a witch in it. She wasn't called Witchy Boo. She was called Miss Witch. And so,
Right.
so all those characters, it didn't fall together easy. Nothing does. But that's where the idea came from. And honestly, everybody, before it went on the air, I apologized to everybody that was working for me because I said, I think I just ended our careers, because this is not a 5-year-old kid going to watch this. It's going to scare the hell out of them. What is it? You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
look at Land of the Lost.
Oh
There
yeah,
were,
another wonderful show, Love Land of the Lost. And actually, we just recently taped an interview with Wesley Ure.
oh
Yeah,
my God.
love
He's,
Wesley.
He's
He's
he
awesome.
says hello, by the way.
oh my God. Well, I talked to him, I think, a couple of days ago, and I saw him. We did a Comic-Con in,
Right, I saw.
well, we did a couple,
Awesome.
didn't we?
Oh yeah.
Palm
Yeah, you guys have done a
Springs,
lot of those, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And in Pasadena. No,
Hmm.
they're fabulous. I
Yeah,
found,
he's wonderful.
no, I just, the casting of all my shows, I don't know who gave me that much luck, but it was amazing to get those big stars to do a little kiddie show, you know.
Absolutely.
So now, can you kind of like talk a bit about like did your earlier work with, of course, with both with the Banana Splits and News and Review kind of like influence the development of HR Pun stuff in any way?
No, because we were already doing people in suits in the puppet shows where we fooled the audience. They were little people. We put strings on them, put them in costume and mask and all that stuff. And people thought they were puppets. They weren't. They were little people. So when Puffin stuff happened, I thought all those secondary characters, what the hell am I? Are they going to be puppets like the Muppets? We're going to have to elevate all the stages so the puppeteers can be underneath. And it's so complicated. It's so, and it doesn't take one person to puppet. And,
Right.
you
To get
know,
all the builders and all that to, to get it together.
no, and then I immediately came up with the idea to put little people inside of those characters, you know, and it worked. And I didn't have to have rods and strings and a zillion puppeteers. I had 36 little people that I brought from all over the world in HR Pufnstuf. Hey,
Right.
for you guys out there, you should try and pull up HR Pufnstuf. It was made 54 years ago, and I just saw it not too long ago. It's like we made it yesterday. It really holds up.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, of course. You know, I'm sure there are people out there like still talking about your project still to this day, and I'm sure you know it's just so wonderful. It still has such a huge following. You know.
Well, I've never met the fans before, and been doing some of these Comic Cons, and people come 1,000 miles away just to say hello, and what it meant to them in their childhood. So, no, it's amazing. It's just, I love it. I just love doing the live shows or what we're doing right now because there's a lot of people out there that are really interested in knowing how did this all happen.
Exactly. So now, how much of the concept of HR Puff and stuff came from your live puppet show background, and how much of it was just kind of new territory for you?
Oh, it was told I've never done television. So, yes, I did Ed Sullivan. I've been on a lot of variety shows years ago, Jack Benny show, you know, but I never went in the booth. I didn't know how they did it. And when we got the first order for Pufnstuf, my brother said, "You better go to the library and get a book on how to do a TV show because we don't know anything." But we sure as hell learned fast enough.
Exactly.
Right.
So, so now what went into designing a wide-ranging cast of characters like, Witchy Poo and Freddie the Flute and Kling and Clang?
Well, when you do a series, that I did know, that you need to have characters in it that carry stories because it just can't be the main character for 23 minutes. All those supporting characters are have stories to be told too. So when in developing those characters, I just can't say, you know, I want an owl, character. What's he
Right.
going to do? Who is he? That I have to go through all that. It's Dr. Blinky. You know, I gave him the name of Blinky because he was an owl that constantly said, "Who?" You know, yeah. And the other characters, you know, took it a different way. Like they didn't understand what the owl was asking them. Who? But that's what an owl does. um, so that's, all the characters that you see in all the shows, that's my my first marching order to myself. I have to develop them and not, completely because the writers are going to help you when you hand that in, but you have to give them something to go by. Yeah. So it's not 100% Sid Krofft. It takes an army of people, to design this and the lighting and
Yeah.
the sets. It's just, you know,
Yeah, it takes like a whole crew to make all
well,
that happen to a reality.
there on a little kid show, there's never more, never less, I mean, than 150 people it takes to put on one of those little shows.
Exactly.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sit after you see a a movie, you know, a big epic movie. Um, sit through the credits. They're longer than the movie because it could have taken 1,000 people to put that movie together.
That is true. Yes.
Yeah. And we don't know that it takes years. When you see a movie today, it was made 2, 3 years ago. It takes that long to put it together and get it to where you're happy with it. It's a big job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Of course. So what's it like, for you getting to work with Jack Wall as Jimmy and Billy Hayes as Witchy Pooh,
Well,
since you already kind of already talked about that
I
series.
don't want to take a lot of credit because it's going to sound like I'm on an ego trip, but I found them. Jack Wild, I found Witchy Boo. Um, we only looked at one other person for Witchy Boo, and it was Penny Marshall came in,
Oh, nice.
and
Wow.
but that I said no, I don't need a Brooklyn witch. That's not going to work, you know, with that accent that she had, the New York accent. So that didn't work, but Witchy Boo sure did.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Very iconic character. So now, where did the idea for Sigmund and the Sea Monsters come from?
Um, I found it down at the beach in La Jolla. One weekend, I went surfing at the Grove, the Cove, I'm sorry, the Cove. That's the name of a beach. And I found this piece of seaweed that just made me crazy and gave me a story. And driving back to LA, you know, because I wanted to take the seaweed with me
Hmm.
back to LA. And then the person I was with said, how could you do that? This piece of seaweed has a family. You're going to take them away, you know? And so we just, and he's probably got a couple of, you know, a brother or a sister or two brothers, blurp and slurp.
Right, yeah.
And so, you know, and All in the Family was the big, big, big hit on nighttime television. And so I used those characters, you know, Sweet Mama and Big Daddy.
Right, yeah.
And I loved they had a phone in their cave, but it was a shell. And when he would pick up this huge shell, he'd say, "Shello." And
Oh, that's
that
awesome.
became, kids picked up on that. It became a national crazy little saying, "Shello."
That's awesome.
That's wonderful. Um, so can you kind of like talk about like what kind of inspired for a sea monster that's kind of like don't like didn't want to scare people in general? Like what was kind of like what inspired for having
Well,
sea
I
monster that
never,
don't want to be like that. Yeah.
no. First of all, E.T. came 10 years later. And if you
Yeah.
really take a look at Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, it's sort of that same story. The kids hide them out and all that. And that's where I really swiped it from. And so anyway, everything's been done before. It's just the way you approach it, you know, go left with it. And that's what I always did. And so, you know, I never wanted to really scare kids. I know I did with the Slee Stacks, but Witchy Poo scared them. And I thought
Hmm.
that Witchy Poo was a clown. That's what I wanted. Just, everything fumbles and nothing works. And, Freddie the Flute, Freddie the Flute
Yeah.
it
Hmm.
was originally harmonica.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And
Interesting.
then
Okay.
and that was old fashioned. And when I took a look at it and stepped back, I said, "No, that kid Jimmy, he's the Pied Piper,
Hmm.
so he needs a flute." So that's where that came from.
Ah,
But
okay. Interesting.
Gotcha.
Nice. Yeah, and there was also like a short-lived reboot of Sigmund and the Sea Monsters that was on a Prime Video Kids. Can you talk just like a little bit about kind of what it was like kind of getting to bring that back, even though it was just for kind of like a short time?
it was only six episodes. Um, what's it on?
Prime Video Kids. That's where it was
Yeah,
on. It was on Amazon.
Amazon. Yeah, it was Amazon.
Yeah.
So Amazon approached us. I was not interested in doing a reboot, but Marty was. I had
Oh,
nothing to
okay.
do. I had nothing to do with it. I don't like
Gotcha.
reboots.
Uh,
They 90% of the time they don't work.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, absolutely. So now what was it like producing the Krofft Super Show and the Krofft Superstar Hour?
Well, it was the same. It was just we had all these shows and we just kept doing them. Well, it was like no time for uh, sleep. There was so much going on, just so much. And on top of it all, I had Six Flags for 9 years, where I did a live show that would rotate each year. So I had to do a new one. And we were also in Busch Gardens. We had a puppeteer and Kings Island and a little park, not in New York, called Coney Island. I
Hmm.
can't remember. I think it was also in Atlanta, maybe.
Gotcha.
No, I'm waiting for the next.
oh,
No, yeah,
uh,
I was talking
uh,
to Jake. Yeah.
okay. Okay, sorry about that. I was just okay. Okay, I didn't know we were talking about those shows now. Okay, no worries at all. Uh, point. So now, so of course, now of course for a recent part cut out. So of course, and kind of like one of the recent shows that you've got to that both you and Mike kind of got to kind of like create was a Mutt Stuff. So can you kind of talk about like what idea kind of came about and what kind of inspired you both to to create a preschool show that's centered around dogs, especially to the children who watch that show that kind of like introduce to dogs for the first time as a kind of as a pet. So can you kind of like talk about what went into that show?
Are you talking about mutton stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with it.
Really?
That show
Huh.
didn't. It didn't interest me. But it was cute.
Oh
And
yeah.
they did 74, 75 episodes. And I love that I'm an animal lover. So the only reason I went on the set was to hug all the dogs. They were incredible.
Right.
Okay. Gotcha. I mean, to us, for us, loving dogs, it's great to have a show like that for preschoolers can watch, like how a dog can do as a pet, and it's just so often.
No,
Of course, the people got to be involved in with amazing, Calvin and Steve Marlon. For being involved, especially, Calvin's like first like kind of acting gig, like he did such an amazing job for
he
kind of being the
did.
main lead
Yeah,
for that series. Yeah.
he really did because there's no time for teaching because the budget is so small, you know, that you just have to shoot and hope that you got it on the first take. You know, it's very, very difficult to work with
Yeah.
those budgets.
Yeah. Of course, previously we got to chat with Calvin a while back. He's so great. And of course, the wonderful director, one directors on that show, the amazing Hugh Martin. He's so wonderful.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, we
A lot of
Best
all,
wonderful
director.
people on that show.
Yeah,
Yep.
puppeteers too. They're all awesome.
Yeah, Drew
Victor Yared,
Massey
Drew
and Donna
Massey.
Campbell.
Yeah, a lot of wonderful people on that show.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. So now, over the years, there have been many celebrities that you and Marty have gotten to work with on all of these amazing projects. Do you have any favorite like celebrities that kind of like stick out to you that you and Marty have gotten the chance to come across?
well, it was just amazing that I was getting people that I idolized, Lucille Ball you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and
Oh
people like
yeah.
that, Bob Hope and I mean,
Yeah,
the list just goes on. And it
I'm
was
sure.
just, you know, you just don't know in life what's gonna, what path is gonna take you, when and where. You know, we just don't know that. And so I used to walk down from the little house I lived in off of Hollywood Boulevard in 1960 when they started doing the stars on the Walk of Fame. And so I used to go down there, like all the tourists, and in awe, and there'd be Lucille Ball, Mae West, Judy Garland. I already worked with her in 58, 57, 58. But it's crazy. It's just how you start as a little puppeteer, you know, with one little puppet as a street performer, and look at look at the stuff. Wow, it's never ending. There's so much to talk about, and I still remember, you know,
Absolutely.
all
Yes,
the
Yep.
detail.
definitely.
So, of course, a couple years ago, we sadly lost your brother, Marty Krofft. So, as I kind of like him as a creative standpoint and as a, person being your brother, can you kind of talk about, you know, him, how he was, brother to brother standpoint from getting to do all these projects we both got to do together. And can you share, such, stories that you want to share about Marty to us?
Okay, we had a not so great relationship because I didn't grow up with Marty, and I knew very little about him,
Um,
even though he was my brother. And he came out here to assist me. That's how he started. And so, but I got to tell you something. We all have brothers and sisters that maybe we don't get along with, you know,
Right, yeah.
Right.
and and so you can relate to what I'm saying. But
Yeah,
what he did for a living, he did beautifully, and 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 I delivered what I needed to, and so I'm grateful for everything. It's just
Yeah.
you have to, thank the gods every day you wake up.
right, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Rest the soul.
Definitely.
So that is a little piece of my life, and I want to say to everybody watching, if you found it interesting, I'm on Instagram every Sunday at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern. And
Sundays with
I,
Sid.
yeah, and
There you go.
I've been on for 5 years, and you're going to hear stories that are going to blow you away. And
I'm
so,
sure. It's actually kind of like in a way like perfect segue that you can ask for that, Chris.
Yes, yeah. So what's it like doing Sundays with Sid and getting to, do this live show and getting to, speak with, wonderful people on that.
I love it. I look forward to it. When people ask me to do what I'm doing for you guys, I always say yes. It's great, you know, and it gives me a rebirth, of my life in going back and remembering all the great things that have happened in my life. And I want to share it with all of you. And that's
Absolutely.
what I've done. I've been on there for 5 years. Jesus. Do you know how many shows? Uh,
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Probably around kind of around the same that we've been doing our show kind of close to that because we've been doing this podcast for almost to be 4 years doing this. So we've been doing it for a while, and of course getting to travel a lot of wonderful guests we got to do, and it's just always fun,
no, it's great. And it's great for the audience. They love to hear information.
Definitely.
To kind of want to know more about particular stories and more careers, for having that we get to do now with podcasts, again, have more people to know more about it. It's so great that we have an opportunity to get to do those, And that's
Yeah.
why we love doing
For
this.
sure. Yes,
So
yeah,
so yeah,
definitely looking forward to more Sundays with Sid. So now
yes.
this last question that Jake is going to ask is a question we ask all of our guests at the end. Go ahead, Jake.
Thank you very much, Chris. So of course, podcast called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. When you think of nostalgia, what do you think of? In your own words, how would you define the word nostalgia? What does nostalgia mean to you?
You're talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
Sid. Yes,
Are
you.
you kidding? Nostalgia is my life. I mean, that's what we've been doing. We
Yes.
we go to different locations of where I had an experience in my show business life. And so nostalgia, that word belongs to me. And thank you for giving me that word.
You are
You're
absolutely
absolutely more
welcome.
than welcome, my friend.
Yes. Sid, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was a blast. It was just a great pleasure. It was an absolute honor getting to
Thank
speak with you.
you.
This was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun for me too. And I thank
Yes, it
everybody
is.
that hung out with us. And
Yes, for this
I'll
wonderful
I'll see
hour of
you.
a nice inspirational chat.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, and every
That's
Sunday
right.
over Sundays per Sid over on Instagram. Y'all can,
Uh,
you know, uh, look at the
Yes.
description down below and check out Sid's Instagram and a lot more that you
Check
can
it
do
out.
around
Hey,
social media and everything.
hey,
Yes.
thank you everybody, and thank you, you guys. It was fun.
It was
And
so much
to
Yes,
fun.
be
it was a
con
lot of fun.
to be continued. Okay.
Yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
of course,
All
we'll
right.
do.
Enjoy the rest of your day, Sid. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again, Sid. It was a lot of fun. Good to meet you
Bye,
again.
Sid.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
It's goodbye from us as well. We absolutely enjoyed our time speaking with the wonderful, legendary Sid Krofft. Links to where you can reach out to him will be in the description down below, as well as, like we just mentioned, links to where you can find Sundays with Sid. That is his live show where he talks to a lot of wonderful people, similar to how we just spoke with him just now. But yes, Sid was wonderful. Keep on the lookout
Yes,
for more
yes,
wonderful
indeed.
interviews coming your way. And of course, we just again, even though it was almost 2 years ago now, we of course want to send our love and condolences towards the wonderful Marty Krofft, who was Sid's brother and creative partner in all these wonderful, crazy projects. HR Pufnstuf, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, Land of the Lost, Mutt Stuff,
Mutt
all these
Stuff. Yeah,
wonderful things.
exactly. A lot more projects that he's got to do over years. It's a wonderful career that Sid and Murray got to do.
Yes, you know, you know, even though it's only been like almost 2 years, he will never be forgotten, and we still think of him.
Yes, he is indeed.
You know, keep on the lookout for more wonderful interviews coming your way. As always, what do you say, Jake?
Yes, keep nostalgia alive. That's what Sid said. This life of nostalgia. That's from his own words. Okay, everyone. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode. Be sure to follow Jake and the Happy Nostalgia team on social media, check out our website, and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember to keep nostalgia alive. Bye-bye.